Hey everybody, so I'm back. I have my headphones in because I've been dealing with a lot of the stuff from this cold slash I don't know. I hope it's not the flu, but anyway, I hope y'all having a good Saturday night. Thank you to all of you who've been liking the videos, subscribing, and watching. I really appreciate it. Those of you watching, please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. So let's get into it. Love and Marriage Huntsville, okay? Uh, Season 6, Episode 18, Melody versus Marsau, Round 5. Let me tell you something. This episode was so messy. I know I'm not gonna be able to cover it all, but it was it was given a good old days of Love and Marriage Huntsville. Okay, so Tiffany's baby showing or whatever. Her pastor is giving some nice words about the baby. Um, Mind you, while this is going on, Mel has had time to have a whole catch up session with Nell about what happened with her dinner with Tisha and Marceau. All this information. They've talked about the Black Expo, this, that, and the other. And then Tisha shows up by the time the pastor gets up. Hell, it seemed like they had been there already for 2 damn hours. Anyway, so it was feeling like an exclusive baby dedication, except for minus her husband, her church family, and the oil. But okay. Um, it wasn't giving like completeness. Like, are you just gonna show the baby? Like, what? The baby is gorgeous though. He really is. So Tisha is talking about how she went up to Stormy and she tried to hug her or whatever. Tisha talked about how Stormy acts funny in public, but then she's all giddy on the phone. And honestly, I can see that because Stormy is I don't see it for her. I don't. But Tisha, we gonna get on you in a second. And then they start eating or whatever. Now, those waffles did not look good to me. And I'm gonna tell you why. Did y'all notice that person putting their hands on the waffles? Where were your gloves? See, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. Like when I go places like Waffle House, look like it don't even cost half as much as it probably costs to go to that little restaurant there, and they using their hands. That shit ain't okay. Next, we get Tisha walking in, and she asks once they sit down to eat, why the energy is off, why everyone's so quiet. Essentially, everybody had been quiet; they had been talking the whole time. And Kimmy says, "Well, we have talked, and we were talking about the expo." Excuse me, y'all. I'm trying. Um, and then Kimmy says we should have a sit down. I think all of us like we can give you feedback and stuff like that. But Tisha cut in real quick. Like she cut in quicker than I had seen her before. Um, and Tisha was like, I don't need any more feedback. I said, oh shit, okay, all right. So then Tisha jumped in with Nell and they started getting into it. I said, Nell, you messy. And Tisha, never mind, I got something for you later in a second. So Tisha is basically saying they need to have their own Black Expo if they want to do it. Now, um, Tisha held her own. I ain't gonna lie for a second. She wrong, but she held her own in the sense that she was taking up for herself. Now Tisha is a lot like Candy from Real Housewives of Atlanta. She acts like she can't check certain people like the way Candy would act toward her mother. I can't check her. She's a certain age as any other. Same way Tisha kind of acts with Marcel. And that she's a victim until she gets pissed. And then we see exactly what Tisha is made of, okay? So Tisha, you ain't as innocent as you try to act. Okay? Now Tisha also, I don't like Tiffany at all. But saying that Tiffany is throwing shade when Tiffany goes up to you and says, "Oh, I didn't know you were coming because you didn't RSVP, girl." Now we know Tiffany is a bitch and she was probably doing it in a bitchy way, but at the same time, I do think the least you could do is RSVP, say I'm coming or not. Okay, not just showing up after not RSVPing and then calling the shade. Girl, it's her event with her baby. And we ain't fully out the pandemic. Okay, and climate change is a bitch in New York City. We saw that, okay? The flood all over the place. Anyway, that's why I'm struggling, girl. All right, anyway, so now Tiffany was like, well, if y'all having issues with the expo, basically hold one. So she said the same thing Tisha said when she didn't even hear what they were talking about. Now, I do understand this because I've seen people overdo criticism enough times in my life, like try to pick a fight with people who are working to do something, so on and so forth. That I can understand being the reaction. Now, when Kimmy said that's the wrong attitude, if this isn't the last time you plan to do a business expo, which it doesn't seem like, 'cause what y'all were trying to do, seems like something y'all wanted to continue doing, I do think that you should get feedback. I do. I do, because it's the first time you've done it, whatever. Although I feel like a lot of these potholes could have been avoided if y'all weren't so busy trying to cut off Mel and belittle Mel when Mel was asking the right kind of questions. So it seems to me that y'all have a problem taking any advice or criticism. Y'all just think y'all have a good idea. People should like just support you just because. And business doesn't work like that. Okay, it just doesn't. It doesn't lend itself to that kind of risk, like where people aren't going to ask questions. All right. I mean, I do understand under certain conditions where you just like, fuck it, I don't want to work with you. That's how you want to act. Then hold your own if that's the way it's gonna be. However, there are too many holes for us to defend you, Tisha. You and Marsau. Okay, so Tiffany's messy ass brings up Stormy telling her about the $100. I said, Lord. And Stormy's mouth dropped like, I can't believe you just repeated that shit. Bish, that's what you get. Okay, Stormy? Tiffany has shown herself to be mean, vicious, inconsistent, and loyal to nobody. Shit, she barely loyal to her husband. So that's what you get for trying to have a few moments on camera with that bitch, because that's exactly who she is. Okay? Now, Tisha gets up and leaves the table. It did seem like everybody was coming at her, because I'm trying to be fair about this, because I certainly wouldn't want to walk into a baby reveal, whatever the hell it is, a 70, whatever the hell it is, and everybody's been talking about me and the Black Expo, but not to me. And then all these people are grouping together. I can totally understand why she felt that way. Okay, but her attitude toward it was giving, Tisha, you were giving guilty. Like, I don't want to answer these questions because I'm afraid people are going to be able to fill in these holes. Okay, and it was also given we may have scammed some people, including y'all who are our friends. Now, Mel is sitting back laughing and kikiing because she escaped the embarrassment when she caught on to this badass plan when the comeback group that's just a fall, that group's in the pits. Okay, I don't even know why they call it the comeback group. They always coming apart. Anyway, so Mel is the Jenga piece in this whole show. Let's be clear. If she comes off this show, people won't have anybody to line up against and have a clear target. Even she comes up even when she's not giving the camera anything. People still feel the need, like Stormy, to be rude, to act like they don't see her. Like, she's a Jenga piece. That's just something I've noticed. Now, then Nell keeps the fire going on Tisha with more gasoline, more matches, more King's charcoal, whatever she could find, by bringing up that $100 and how she wants to know about it. So Tisha says, look, we're not talking about that. And Nell jumps back and says, Stormy, I'm talking to you, not Tisha. Tisha gets up and leaves the whole table. And it just kept getting messier and messier. So Stormy gets up and tells Tisha, she was like, in the confessional, she's like, I can see why Tisha felt like everybody was coming at her. Well, because they were. At the same time, she was like, she got to quit running away. Well, Stormy, you sitting there with your mouth all poked out. Not that I think you can always help it. But anyway, you sitting there with your fucking mouth poked out. You didn't open your mouth either. Going to get Tisha. See, Tisha, that's where you fucked up. If I'm going to leave, I'm going to fucking leave. So Stormy got up to get her and told her to stop running. And I was thinking to myself, bitch, you run by ignoring people and shit. Anyway, but Tisha starts talking about throwing an event and how expensive it is. And if y'all ever done that before, y'all should know. And like I said, I understand why Tisha felt attacked. However, Tisha, they were asking some reasonable questions about who was charged and who was not. The problem is a lot of y'all are mad at Marsau, and Marsau wasn't there to take the heat. And Tisha, I think you got to get tired of that. Then Stormy talks about how Tisha, excuse me, Tisha had her back before. And then Stormy said, we had a problem only when your husband came up to me acting like a woman, acting like a bitch. I was like, oh, shit. Let me tell you something. Tisha, I would have stomped the shit out of Stormy. Okay, whether it was true or not, whether I even feel like at times or not, my husband is acting like a bitch. Because you got to protect the unit. And you were like, no, he's not. He doesn't act like a woman. He's just very opinionated. There's plenty of loud, opinionated men who don't get called that. Baby, let me tell you something. Tisha, you explain yourself too much. If I didn't want to be bothered, I am like you. I would have gotten up. But see, the difference with me and you is I would not have walked to the back of the restaurant. I would have grabbed my keys and said, "Don't come near me, fuck all y'all," and walked the fuck out of that restaurant, got in my car, and went home. Okay, but see, you didn't do that. See, if you want to make a statement, just get up and say, "Fuck everybody." Nell is on my nerves. I think she is too old to be trying so hard to be on reality TV. That's how it comes off to me. That's what I see. That's what I think. That's what I feel. She keeps asking certain probing questions and trying to get camera time, and it's obvious. It's almost like she just learned the word shade and stuff like that. She just says it too much. So Mel jumps in and says, "Well, you know what, Stormy? I'm glad we're having this conversation because I got the same issue as you. I don't have a problem with Tisha if it wasn't for the stuff Marsau is always saying. And this is why you have to be careful who you mess with in terms of choosing a lifetime partner, a boyfriend, a regular friend. Because once people start associating y'all together, they just presume that your ideas a lot of time are a lot like theirs, even if they aren't the same. That's why you have to be careful who you associate yourself with. In your case, Tisha, it's your husband, which is a little harder to get rid of. Nevertheless, but yeah, that was a messy event. But that's the way Tiffany likes it. Because when Kimmy jumped in and Kimmy said to her, "I thought you was going to change that to me." She already had a child. She's already been a mother all these years. That's the kind of person she is. So Kimmy and Maurice, they go to see his brother Micah, who's working on a construction space for them. Another Scott with another M name. Please, please, I can't take it anymore. Keeping up with all these M names on this show is already too much. Okay? So his brother's moving slow with the construction. He has a timeline problem like Marsau. Can't get anything done effectively, and Kimmy is making it clear she is disappointed with that. He's already gone slow. So Kimmy tells him, once Micah is out the room, she starts telling him about the baby reveal, and he was like, "Okay, so y'all didn't talk about the actual baby reveal. Y'all are just talking about the Black Expo." Now, which is true, which is what Tisha said, right? Then Kimmy starts talking about the money issue and said it's growing legs. And so Maurice is like, "Why? Why is it growing legs?" So Kimmy starts saying, "Well, first of all, I didn't even know you had paid Marsau. Okay, that was not my understanding." And apparently other people had that same understanding of what was not going to be charged. And so then Kimmy tells him about Marsau saying he doesn't respect Mel selling t-shirts. Maurice starts laughing so hard. Now, honestly, I'm not going to lie. It would be funny. It was actually funny the way he laughed. But it would be funny if it wasn't false. Okay? Acting like all she does is sell t-shirts. Okay? Because they stay in the red. Just saying. All right. So she tells him they need to meet with them, though, and figure out what's going on and give them feedback. And I certainly understand Maurice to a degree. I understand not taking a word over strangers over your family. Period. Like I said, protect the unit, Tisha. Stomp Stormy's face down. Okay? But nevertheless, but Marsau is clearly on some bullshit. So at the point where you have to defend your family on fuck shit, like that you know is fuck shit and they fucking you over, that's where you gotta draw a line. All right. So Mel comes to meet Nell at her daycare. She was saying they was just having a Friday evening or afternoon meeting. And I'm glad she said that because I was going to have questions about why she bring that messy ass shit into a daycare. Nevertheless, all right, so they talk about the event. Nell and Mel look alike to me. Doesn't it seem like Nell just looks like the older version of Mel? Like Mel looked like she could be her daughter or her niece. Are they related? No? Okay. Anyway, so they talk about the event. Nell says she doesn't know what Tisha knows and doesn't know, right? Because she was trying to lighten up on Tisha a bit. And then they start showing how Tisha owns 85% of the business. They go back to that dinner conversation. And Nell said, "You own 85% of the business but that you got kicked out of?" I said, it does seem like a epic proportion for somebody to hold in a business. So Mel is like, "Okay, so what does that mean? The partner shareholder only have 7.5%. Doesn't make sense." Okay, it doesn't. But a lot of things Scott do don't make sense. And then Mel started to read the fuck out of them. Mel started talking about how, Tisha does, when Nell was like, well, she doesn't want to say how much money they got from the expo. She was like, "I don't think they made no whole lot of money from that expo." She said they probably only got like $500 or something like that. But they'd rather not say because they don't want to look like they didn't make a lot of money. They'd rather y'all think they made a lot of money. I was like, that's a good point. Then Mel starts talking about how when they were, she said back when her and Martell were in business together when they were married, she was like how husbands, the government, they were starting to get into government contracts. And Mel was talking about how the government picked up on game, apparently, where men started having their husbands. I mean, men started having their husbands. I mean, I'm sure that could be the case some places. No, but in this case, men started having their wives exploiting this idea of women's owned businesses. They would give their wives a higher share, stake in the business, so it could be technically a women's own business, and they could get more contracts. And what they would do though is that the woman would still have no control in the business. They would be taking over, take care of everything, not sharing information and stuff like that. And she was like, and that's trifling. She said, so she was basically saying that could be the case with Tisha. And honestly, that makes a whole lot more sense. Okay, and see, that's my thing with Mel. When Mel reads you, Mel will go down details. You gotta be careful who you fuck with, because everybody ain't gonna be okay with it. So Mel said, Nell, see, this is what I'm talking about, everybody's name, ramen and shit, or, oh my gosh. So Mel asked Nell if when it comes to Tisha, and this is where Mel got messy, do you see y'all being friends? And I knew Mel was being messy because I'm sure she was thinking, like, why were y'all out to dinner with my enemies anyway? Y'all seen how bad they've done me on all these episodes? I know that's right. But anyway, so Mel said Marsau, that what she really thinks about Marsau after Mel said, well, I think he has issues with women. Mel been saying that. Everybody been saying that. Is afraid that if her and Tisha get too close, she gonna get that strong woman energy from her and use her own skills to leave his lying, manipulative ass, which I think is true. I know women are taught, even when that's not the case in their home, are taught to, get married and want to get married and to have children. But there are a lot of manipulative and abusive men out here. And we've got to really talk about it. And teaching women that their worth is based on whether they can keep one or not is really what keeps a lot of women in bad situations. And I'm talking about abusive men who are abusive physically, many of them mentally, emotionally, because if they're physically abusive, trust me, mentally and emotionally, they've already warped you. And that can cause so much harm, not just, to the woman, of course, and to the children. And sometimes those cycles repeat. Lots of times they do. And so you just have to be careful with men who are often jealous of women and their accomplishments. And that's why Mel was going off. Because, see, Mel didn't come out of it. She's been in it and come out. And those are the people that know it the best. People who have witnessed it, people who have experienced it. Men who are jealous of you. And it just cannot work like that. It can't. And it's not. And it's nothing to work out. They've got to work that out on their own. So, anyway, we get Kiki at her house. Okay, Kiki is like me, bring all her work to the table where she eats. Her husband looks like he can cook. I'm here for it. And then she's talking about how she missed Tiffany's event and how people are looking at the incident and gonna be asking if she relapsed or whatever. She was like, I feel really sick. I don't know what's causing it. I could tell her husband has heard all this before, all this bullshit before, because he kept focusing on cooking like the Cause that's some shit I would do. Like, I know these cameras are here. I know you're trying to get this, but like, okay. So she said she's worried that he's worried that she's too dependent on the medication. I forget what medication they were talking about. And then he starts telling her about, look, you don't know what's wrong with you. You don't know why you're sick. You don't know why you went to the hospital, but you're doing stuff like that Chinese food order you did. You ordered half the damn Chinese restaurant, and it was like 10 o'clock at night. You can't keep doing these things. That stuff affects your health. So he was basically saying there are things, Kiki, you could do to improve, your health as well, right? So she said, well, we have two different definitions of support, and his is different from mine. Okay, first of all, if y'all are married, I don't think y'all's definitions of support should be that damn different. Okay? So Kiki, as far as I'm concerned, what I observed was you over fucking reacting. Okay, everything she's saying about how he berates her, about her decision, how he's making stuff her fault when it's not. Girl, he was telling you something you didn't want to hear and you got mad. And he wasn't saying it nasty. He wasn't being rude about it. He even apologized to you for even making you feel like that. But he's your husband. So, I don't think he's doing you any favors if he doesn't check you on certain things. You weren't listening and you were tripping. You were tripping hard in that thing because everything you were saying was completely opposite of his behavior in the story. Okay, so Mel and Marsau, the main event. Why is it funny to see them interact? I think it's funny to see them interact because Mel is the complete antithesis of what Marsau would ever want, and Marsau is the antithesis of what she would want. So Mel came out stunting in those camo pants. I said, "Okay, girl, I see you." And I knew she was. I knew she did not come to play. When she wore her millimeter shirt, excuse me, when she wore her millimeter shirt, she had every intention to get in his ass and to troll him like, "Yeah, I got t-shirts." And so Marceau knows that she wants to talk about what Nell told her. Probably because Tisha told him. Also because you talk too damn much, Marceau. You already knew what it was. And he was like, people embellish. Nell didn't embellish it. You talk too much and you were wrong. So Mel said she came on purpose with super positive energy. And he actually notices this. This is what she's telling us in confessional. And he actually notices it and says, "Look, I love this energy. You this and the other." She was like, that was a choice. Because this wouldn't have been my energy. I thought to myself, what would that lady who was over at our tea party tell me to do? So Mel tells the story about things that she heard Marceau said about her business practices or whatever. Instead of dealing with what Mel said right after she got done talking, he starts throwing it back on Nell, saying she embellished, saying people are embellishing, they're telling half truths, this, that, and the other. Okay, so then fine, tell us what you said. Then eventually he gets to, well, I did say. He repeats his comment about her t-shirt business. And Mel says, first of all, you know my business acumen. We've worked together before, and you know it goes well beyond t-shirts. Okay? And she was, all the things she's done, he was like, well, it just seems like to me, every time I see you or I hear something about you, it just seems like you're starting a new business, just throwing things up against the wall to see what sticks. No, sir, that's you. And my thing is, you didn't want Mel to listen to what other people said about you. So that should have been the wrong approach in the first place. No, what you are is you a hating ass motherfucker. Is what the fuck you are. Okay, and Mel read you even before she saw you at this little lunch date or whatever. Then she said, she was like, look, it's e-commerce. E-commerce is one of the things I do. He said he doesn't have a high opinion of e-commerce. Then Mel looks at him, cocks her head, and says, "Oh, you don't have a high opinion of the business you've been trying to get in?" I said, "Oops." And he said, "I still don't have a high opinion of it." She said, "Then why are you trying to be in it?" He was like, "To make money." She was like, "You know what, Marcel, you trying me right now. You are really trying me." He's so full of shit. And now people ain't gonna want to support your shit because that's a shitty way to behave. She said, "You're just afraid." And that's when Mel went for that jugular. She said, "You're just afraid of Tisha leaving your ass." He was like, "Why would she leave me? Why would you want her to leave me?" And the other, "No, nigga, no, boy, you know what you did was wrong." Okay? So she said, "You're just afraid of Tisha doing it and making enough money to be on her own when she leaves your sorry manipulative lying ass." I said, "Baby, baby." Mel did not come to play. She came to what? Slay. Okay? And let me tell you something. She got in your ass more so because your mouth kind of dropped. You look like you was getting mighty, mighty nervous, honey. Okay, mighty nervous. Anyway, that's all I got for Love and Marriage Huntsville. I will see y'all soon. Y'all have a great week and we'll talk later. Bye.